A new study that's come out suggests that perhaps we are not the most diverse bunch per capita. This is from the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, and they quite frequently do an annual study of studios and their output and the level of diversity or lack thereof of the filmmakers or the types of films that they are making. This time they looked at the critics who were reviewing those films and found that 82% of reviews that came out last year were from white critics. 77.8% of those were by men. But they looked at a lot of Rotten Tomato reviews to get their statistics. Now, Matt, in your previous incarnation, you had some intel as to how Rotten Tomatoes operates.
Well, so this was always a challenge, right? Because one of the things the Annenberg study calls for is the 30-30-20-20 target, right? Trying to match the US movie-going demo and saying it was what? The target should be 30% of reviews by white men, 30 by white women, 30% by, or 20 by male critics of color, and 20 by women of color. One of the challenges of Rotten Tomatoes is we were pulling reviews from outlets, like we weren't hiring critics, right? We were pulling reviews from established outlets. And so when that news first broke about the disparity of gender representation, there was a little bit of like, well, okay, anyone that's covering this, are you halvesies? Like, how diverse is your critics pool? If you're pointing it at Rotten Tomatoes, are you part of the problem here? Are you, Variety recently, when they were looking at new critics, like they kind of still went with an older white critic yet again. So it's a challenge. We talked about a little bit, maybe the easy answer is we just cut down the amount of critics on the tomato meter to where we make it the number. But even then, one of the ways that reviews end up on Rotten Tomatoes is it might be at the outlet level, right? So
they have to hire.
Right, so New York Times needs to hire a very diverse, and not just hire, send that diverse pool of critics to all the same movies. Like you can't just have the white dude go see the action movie and
you can't just have a black woman go see a black woman movie.
Right.
Yeah. So that's part of it too. Yeah, 45 of last year's 100 highest grossing films were not reviewed by women of color at all. And over half of the female-driven movies lacked a single review by a top critic who was also an underrepresented woman. So yeah, I mean, I know that there have been efforts. You work for the Wrap. You have a diverse crew of folks.
I do my best to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it has to happen at the level of the website. It has to happen at the level of the newspaper, dying as they are. It is harder and harder to make a living at being a film critic. We all have 6 jobs and we have no job. Yeah.
Although, I can ask this question because I'm not there anymore. What would you guys think if a place like Rotten Tomatoes or a Metacritic says, you know what, we're only going to pull from a pool of critics that we can say represents, like we're gonna ruthlessly cut it down to maybe it's 150 critics.
Right. Well, Brie Larson spoke at the Lucy and Crystal Awards, the Women in Film Awards, and she called for this very thing. She called for, a more diverse crew of folks who get the opportunity to see the films. And some publicists now are putting out feelers on Twitter, like, let me know who your folks are who want to review this. So we'll keep track of it.
If I didn't make the cut, I could live with that.
There you go. So we'll keep track of that.